nonetheless takes over Iraq after you get us out of there?
Well, we have to prepare for that possibility. I can tell you exactly what I would do as president. As president, I'd draw 40,000 to 50,000 troops out today. I would engage the Iraqi government and the Sunni leadership, the Sunni and Shia leadership, into trying to reach some kind of political reconciliation, because without that, there cannot be security in Iraq. And then we need to make a serious, intense diplomatic effort, bring the Iranians and the Syrians and the others in the region into helping provide stability in Iraq. And we have to prepare for the possibility, which George Bush has never done, that things may actually go bad. That means we've got to be prepared to control the civil war if it starts to spill outside the borders of Iraq, and we have to be prepared for the worst possibility that you never hear anyone talking about, which is the possibility that genocide breaks out and the Shia try to systematically eliminate the Sunni. As President of the United States, I would plan and prepare for all those possibilities.
Senator Edwards, thank you. Congressman Kucinich, what do you do if an Iraq post-American Kucinich administration is influenced or controlled by al-Qaeda?
Keith, we need to get out of Iraq, and get out of Iraq now. And I have a plan to do just that. The Democratic Congress has the ability to tell President Bush, you got $97 billion 6 weeks ago, use that money to bring the troops home and set in motion an international security and peacekeeping force that would stabilize Iraq. I'm the only one here on the stage who had the vision and the foresight to not only vote against the war, but also vote against funding for the war. People want a president who makes the right decision the first time, and the right decision was never to go in there, and I'm going to get those troops home, and I'll keep the pressure up on the Democratic Congress, and I ask for your help.
Congressman Kucinich, thank you. Pertaining to the subject of the votes and the authorization, Senator Obama, this is a question I've been meaning to ask you since, I guess, the night this occurred. Why did it take so long to hear how you were going to vote on the subject of that war supplemental on May 24th? We didn't learn until that evening when you actually cast your vote. Why is that the case?
Well, because the fact is that it is difficult to send a message to the president who has been so obstinate for so long. All of us on this stage want to make sure that our troops are funded. And all of us believe that we need to be orderly and careful in bringing them out. My hope was that we would start seeing some progress among the Republicans, where they would begin to agree with us on a timetable to withdraw. We have convinced some people, including some folks on this stage, that this was a mistake and that it was important for us to start drawing troops down. But apparently we had not convinced enough Republicans. And at that point, it was my belief that the only way we could send a strong signal to the president to make sure that he came back to the table was to vote no on that supplemental. But understand this, Keith, unless we can change the minds of some additional Republicans who are responsible for continuing to hand the keys of the car to the president on this issue, we are going to have to wait until I am president of the United States. And when I do, I promise you my first act will be calling together the Joint Chiefs of Staff and give them a mission to bring our troops home so that we can start stabilizing Iraq, but also focus on the war on terrorism that's out there right now.
Thank you, sir. I have a follow-up for Senator Clinton. It is essentially the same question about the vote on May 24th, with the note that you voted after Senator Obama had voted.
Well, Keith, this is George Bush's war. He rushed us to war. He has mismanaged the war. But these are our sons and daughters who are serving in this war. And I had to think very long and hard, because clearly I do not want to do anything that undercuts our support for them. But finally, I just concluded that the only way to get a message to the Republicans and to George Bush was to vote against the supplemental funding. And it isn't an easy vote, and you could actually argue it either way. Those of us who were in the Senate, I think, all acted sincerely and out of good faith, trying to figure out what was best for our country. But at the end of the day, I have concluded we've got to force George Bush to begin to end the war that he took America into and save our young men and women and bring them home.
Senator Clinton, thank you. Senator Dodd, last week you had said that Senator Obama, quoting you, his assertions about foreign and military affairs have been frankly confusing and confused. You added he should not be making unwise categorical statements about military options. What, in your opinion, has been confusing?
Well, let me say on these matters here, I've spent 26 years on the Foreign Relations Committee dealing with these matters here in almost every major foreign policy debate. Words mean things. We've got to be very careful about language that's used in terms of the danger and harm it can do to our nation. My view was, when issues are being raised about Pakistan, understand
that while General Musharraf is no Thomas Jefferson, he may be the only thing that stands between us and having an Islamic fundamentalist state in that country. And so what I'd like to see him change, the reality is, if we lose him, then what we face as an alternative could be a lot worse for our country. I think it's highly responsible or irresponsible for people who are running for the presidency and seek that office to suggest we may be willing unilaterally to invade a nation here that we're trying to get to be more cooperative with us in Afghanistan and elsewhere. So my views, and I say this respectfully to my friend from Illinois here, I think it was wrong to say what he did in that matter. I think it's important for us to be very careful about the language we use, make it clear that if this United States is going to build the relationships around the world, we're going to have to do so with allies, in some cases allies that we may not particularly like.
Senator Dodd, thank you.
Chris,
Senator Obama, yes, you've taken some hits here from us, so yours is the last word on this subject.
Well, look, I find it amusing that those who helped to authorize and engineer the biggest foreign policy disaster in our generation are now criticizing me for making sure that we are on the right battlefield and not the wrong battlefield in the war against terrorism. And Chris, respectfully, and you and I are close friends, but the fact is, you obviously didn't read my speech, because what I said was that we have to